Who doesn't want to walk into the room with a patient who's more relaxed, more at ease, calmer, more interested, more educated? We want that. So it's really up to us to be intentional and make that happen.
Welcome to Success Confidentials.
9 minutes every week that'll level up your practice. If you're a healthcare visionary obsessed with patient experience, team culture, marketing, and growth, you're in the right place.
We are too. We're Lauren
and Christine,
the Patient Whisperers. We worked together for 4 years as leaders in a real premium practice.
We did not play in the traditional healthcare sandbox and believe human emotions drive all success, and it really, really worked. We grew our cash pay practice an average 60% year over year.
And on social media, we grew our followers from 1,000 to 14,000 in just 2 years, generating millions in annual revenue from social media alone.
So now we're out here sharing what made us wildly successful so you can be too.
Let's have some fun.
Let's dive in. We're back this week with more Ambiance. This time we're talking about entertainment. How do we entertain the patients that are waiting in our waiting area?
In my opinion, this is one of the most commonly overlooked pieces of ambiance. Thinking about what our patients are doing while they're waiting for us, not even in our main waiting room, but especially in that exam lane while they're waiting for their next point in the process. What are they doing in there?
Yeah, depending on your practice size, there can be multiple waiting areas. There can be a surgery center waiting area. We can talk about the ambiance in the surgery or procedure suite. Really, any place that they're at in their experience. How are we entertaining them when it's applicable? Because we're talking about, say, reading materials in your waiting areas, music, which can be throughout your entire practice, and even what's playing on TVs if you have TVs with something playing in any area.
And this is so important because it really sets the tone for how your patient is going to feel throughout the process. They can either feel more at ease, they can feel calm, or it can really heighten their fears and heighten their emotions they're already feeling.
There's a strategy you can put behind this. As we always say, nothing is neutral. When a patient walks through our doors, nothing is neutral. It's either positive or negative. So if we look at this entertainment factor in our practice as a neutral, it's probably going to produce some negative effects. And let's be real, who doesn't want to walk into the room with a patient who's more relaxed, more at ease, calmer, more interested, more educated? We want that. So it's really up to us to be intentional and make that happen.
When it comes to reading materials, there's kind of this debate between popular magazines versus educational materials.
Yes. Had a talk with a practice about this the other day, and they were deciding, do we have popular magazines out, or should we really just put out education because we want our patients to be educated? And really, for me, it came down to what we decided in our practice was it's fine to want to educate our patients. They're a captive audience. But if we are going to do that, it has to feel like giving energy, not taking energy. We talk about that a lot. Giving energy means if I'm a patient and I'm sitting there and all I have is informational content, I don't want to see a bunch of sterile brochures that look like I am being marketed to.
The industry trifolds
Yes.
that they just throw on the table.
Yes, if I'm going to be educated, make it entertaining. You can do both. So we created an actual magazine for our practice, and it was not crazy expensive, but it was intentional. And we actually ended up doing that for every one of our service lines because it was so effective. It felt like a magazine, and it worked our patient through the emotions they were feeling when they were sitting in our practice. It made them feel more comfortable. It removed anxiety from fear of the unknown. It talked about the processes and how things worked and introduced them to our team members and really deepened that awareness of why we're different and everything that we offer, because just because they're sitting in your waiting room doesn't mean that they know everything you want them to know. So if you're going to be educational, make it entertaining as well.
And it doesn't mean that they are going to 100% get a procedure or service done by you. We still have to continue to nurture that patient.
Or cross-refer. We may have patients coming in for one thing. We may also offer something else for them. We actually have a great Canva template that we created based on what we know works. That is a very easy plug and play magazine that you can take and use in your own practice.
So let's start talking about music. That is a big one for me. I recently went to a practice that I was the first appointment to, and I've been part of this practice for over 6 years now. And since I was the first appointment, no one had turned on music yet. So I had to wait in the exam lane for 10 plus minutes, just silence at 8 a.m. in the morning, waiting for the nurse to come in. And it was such an uncomfortable feeling that by the time she got there, I caught myself just being ready to go. And we hadn't even started the appointment, but I was already ready to go.
You're feeling impatient.
Yeah,
probably
anxious.
Some anxiety. Yes.
I was feeling anxious for no reason. But it produced that because I was just sitting in silence, watching the clock tick.
What about TVs? A lot of practices have TVs.
Yes.
What do we feel about that?
Okay, when it comes to TVs, this plays a big role in the patient's experience. And we even experienced this firsthand when we were in practice, is that we need to have calming shows on. That could be home improvement shows, cooking shows, in comparison to playing the news in our waiting rooms, because that just makes patients feel more anxious, and there isn't really a way for them to escape watching it or hearing it when it's the only TV sitting in the waiting room blaring it. And
we would have sometimes these shows on with subtitles and on mute. That way we could still have that music ambiance. There is a debate, and some practices want to use those educational channels, right, where they pay a subscription and it's educational content, similar to the magazine or a handout pamphlet discussion. I really feel like if you're considering that, watch it. If you're a patient sitting there waiting, does this make your wait more pleasant? Or not? It's really one of the two. If it's actually really interesting information and they do a great job at it, then that can be pleasant because you feel informed. But if it's not, if it's a lot of stock content that sometimes I've seen those channels and they almost feel a little patronizing as a patient, and that's not pleasant. Our takeaways are, like we said last week, walk into your practice and look at the entertainment factor. What's laying around your lobby or your waiting area? Are they current magazines? Are they old magazines that have been worn? They're cracked, they're ripped, they need to go. Is the informational content enjoyable, or does it feel like you're being sold to? What's laying around in your practice?
And then decide who is in charge of what, because this is something that someone needs to own every day. Turning on the music, what station to play, do we have the right materials out there? Do we need to put fresh ones out once a week? And then also, what's playing on the TV? Do we want that muted with subtitles, and what channel is that?
And overall, decide what you want your patients to feel and make sure that carries throughout the entire practice. When they're waiting in the front lobby, when they're waiting in a sub-waiting area, when they're waiting in an exam room, when they're in the surgery or procedure suite, make sure that feeling is represented through the entertainment that you have provided. If we can help you with anything related to today's topic, use the link to schedule a free 30-minute synergy session just for new practices.
For our existing practice clients, you already know where to find us.
Now we want to hear from you. What resonated? What other topics are hot for you right now? We want to know all about it in the comments.
We're just a comment away, so if you have any questions, we personally respond to all comments and DMs. If you're not subscribed yet, make it easy on yourself to see new episodes and reference topics that are helpful by hitting the subscribe button.